Hey guys, a historic thing has happened in the world of chess. Magnus Carlsen has appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast, the arguably most legendary podcast of all time out there. Millions of viewers and listeners have already tuned in, and in this video I will break it down for you and I will tell you about the most exciting, the most interesting things that I have learned from this podcast episode. And I've been following Magnus for many years and following the chess world, so there are things in this episode that were not completely new to me, and if you are a chess geek like myself, some parts of the podcast will not be like eye-opening for you, but others will, and I will concentrate on the latter. The first thing that we need to discuss, of course, is the Hans Niemann situation, the controversy around the supposedly allegations of cheating by Magnus Carlsen made a couple of years ago when he withdrew from the Sinquefield Cup tournament, and this opened Pandora's box, and most of you have heard of it. So the new info that we've received from the Joe Rogan episode is the fact that Magnus says that he's still very suspicious that there is something off about the current performances of Hans Niemann. Well, maybe Magnus is just paranoid, maybe he just cannot overcome the fact that Niemann defeated him in Sinquefield Cup, or maybe he's right because he's the world champ, he has great intuition. I don't know what to believe here, because Kramnik is also a former world champion with also a great intuition probably, but it seems that he's not always right, so I don't know, looking forward to your opinion in the comments. But Magnus still is very skeptical about Niemann. And another thing, at the same time, I liked and cringed at this, is the fact that they never named Hans. They never said Hans or Hans Niemann or Mr. Niemann. Magnus kept referring to him as he or this guy. And Joe also said this young man, this young gentleman, this guy. So probably, I don't know, maybe they just agreed to not name him. Maybe Magnus asked Joe to not promote Hans's name, but it was it was very strange. It reminded me, because I'm a Russian, of the fact how Putin never named Navalny, his main political opponent from the opposition. Unfortunately, Navalny died in prison, supposedly probably murdered. Sad story, really. And Putin never, when speaking about Navalny on his press conferences, for example, when asked by journalists questions about him, he never said Alexei Navalny or Navalny, Mr. Navalny. He said this man, or the above mentioned citizen, or this patient, because Navalny was poisoned and was in a hospital. You might have heard about this story. So yeah, Magnus here resembles Putin to me. I don't know if it rings a bell for you. So the second thing that also in respect of this Niemann story is the fact that the Netflix documentary is coming out this year, within the upcoming months. There is no yet release date, but I think it will be huge. It may be close to the Queen's Gambit's impact on the world's popularity of chess. I'm very looking forward to watching this movie. I've also interviewed for my podcast Eric Alabast, CEO of chess.com, and also soon there will be an interview with Danny Ranch. And as far as I know, they both gave their unfiltered thoughts in this documentary. Also, Magnus gave his thoughts. I think Hans also was interviewed, so it's going to be exciting to watch, because there will be, as they promise, some new information. Looking forward. Another topic that interested me in this Joe Rogan episode is the discussion of mental coaching and performance coaching. Joe Rogan probably has researched some info, and he knew that some chess players use performance coaches or mental coaches. The most notable example recently is, of course, Gukesh D, who has used a famous performance coach from India, who has worked with many cricket legends, for example. And it seems to have played out well for Gukesh, who has become the youngest ever world chess champion. And Magnus surprisingly said that he has never worked with any of such coaches because he was afraid that they will mess something up, because he didn't need this. He still was winning. He became #1 player in the world in the rankings when he was very young, and became the world champion, never lost the world championship match. So sometimes they say it's better not to mess up something that's working great already, not to change it. This is the approach of Magnus. And this made me think, what would have happened if Magnus used mental coaching and performance coaching? Maybe he would have crossed 2900 ELO in classical. Maybe he would have become even stronger, because it seems that Magnus himself, he admits that he's a bit lazy, he doesn't take chess too seriously. Maybe if he tinkered a little bit with some small subtleties in his approach, maybe he would even be stronger. And I don't know if it's necessary and if we can even think of criticizing Magnus because how great he is, but still this is an exciting thought to me. What do you think, by the way? Do you agree? And also about biohacking. Joe Rogan is a big fan of some supplements. They discussed taking, for example, creatine that has been reportedly proven to boost your memory, among other things. And Magnus said that he takes nothing, not even vitamins. And probably if he also did something of that kind, probably that would have helped him even more. Personally, I thought about trying to research this with my doctors, and maybe I'll try to take some supplements if they're legal, of course. No doping. I'll tell you later on this channel if I decide to do that and how the results will turn out to be. Then the third topic that I would like to discuss is the fact that Magnus Carlsen randomizes his openings, stay with me, by using a special app in his cell phone where he just rolls the dice in his phone. I don't know how it works, probably like digital dice. Gives him like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 random number, and the number is assigned to a certain opening that he is going to play. So this way, no one can predict which opening Magnus is going to use because he has a bunch of them. He has played practically all openings existing on Earth, probably all of them. Title Tuesdays, he has tried every first move possible. Remember that. A4, A3, B4, B3, knight A3, knight C3, stuff like that. But in the classical chess, he has also played a lot of stuff. I remember he played even the Norwegian red defense, for example, very dubious opening, got crushed, by the way, by Michael Adams, I think, several years ago. But he has tried lots of openings. He revealed that he randomizes this, so he doesn't choose. And this probably helps him because, as the Germans say, wer die Wahl hat die Qual, something like that, if I remember correctly. So who has the choice has the being tortured feeling of this. And he doesn't need to choose, he just rolls the dice. Okay, today I'll play the Sicilian against 1e4. Okay, today I'll play the caruana, the French, e5, whatever. So exciting stuff. Maybe I should try this, but my opening repertoire is not broad enough, so I will need to broaden it, of course, and I'm working on this. Currently, I already have several alternatives for black against 1 e4 and against 1 d4, so we will see. Another thing that I thought is very interesting in the podcast episode is how Magnus retold the story of his legendary match against Fabiano Caruana in 2018. I will remind you that this was the World Chess Championship match. Magnus already by that time had been the world chess champion for 5 years, and Fabiano turned out to pose the most difficult questions to Magnus, because Magnus did not manage to win a single classical game in that match. They played, I think, 12 games, all ended in draws, and it was only during the tie breaks that Magnus managed to get some wins and finish off the match in his favor. Fabi was arguably at his peak at that time, and he was 28-30 something, or maybe 28-40, so very, very high rating, close to the record all-time highs of Magnus and Kasparov. And Magnus revealed that at that time, I didn't know that actually, at that time Fabi was the only one who had access to Lila. And Lila is a neural network similar to AlphaZero. AlphaZero was the first neural network used to play competitive chess, and it beat Stockfish in the same year, but AlphaZero was not available publicly, and Lila was, I think, the open, or is still, it exists still, it's one of the strongest engines out there. Lila is the open source version of AlphaZero, kind of like a clone, similar analog version. And Fabi got a hold of Lila. Not many people knew about it, Magnus said, and he used it for his prep. And I knew that this was the time that neural networks emerged, but I assumed that Magnus also had access to it. But no, turns out that Fabi was had a very big advantage in terms of opening prep, because he had this super weapon that only he had access to, which makes Magnus's achievement even cooler, the fact that he didn't lose a single game to the peak Fabi. But after that, now everybody has access to neural networks, and even Stockfish has also incorporated neural networks. Currently, the chess engines are not just calculators that try to predict, calculate 10, 20, 30 moves ahead. No, they also use neural networks. This is why Stockfish is still the best, because it has incorporated AlphaZero's and Lila's achievements. I thought about another thing that Magnus said, that currently the state-of-the-art engines are so strong that everybody has parity in terms of access to the best knowledge in chess. Everybody has access to the strongest engines. They are cloud engines. The strongest ones are the ones that are run in the cloud, because the desktop version, for example, of Stockfish or whichever engine you use, it's not as strong. It cannot calculate as deep. But the cloud versions are very strong. And Magnus said that everybody is on par in terms of access to those. Of course, you pay thousands of dollars subscription to those cloud services, but it's not a big deal. And this made me think, why don't they try to use stronger engines? Because I've heard there is one supercomputer. I think it's called Sena or something like this. It's I think it's a Norwegian supercomputer. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And I think it's stronger because it uses more computing power. And I wonder why Magnus or Fabi or Gukesh do not use some kind of supercomputers. They can invest. Of course, it costs a lot of money, probably like $1 million, but you get a head start. You get better access to the best engines. Maybe the incremental improvement is not huge. Maybe it's like 1%, but sometimes in some lines you can find some interesting things that your opponents won't be prepared for. I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid, but I thought of this and I thought it might be a reasonable investment, for example, for Magnus or Fabi or Nepo to use this supercomputer or to build a similar one. If you are experts in those areas, please drop a comment why this does not happen, because I've been thinking about it for a long time and now I've seen this discussion in the JRE and got reminded of this question. And last but not least, the last insight that I have from the Joe Rogan experience with Magnus-Carlsen is the fact that you should listen to Norwegian rap to play your best chess. So you should check it out. For example, Mr. Pimp Lotion. This is the artist Magnus has referred to. I will definitely check him out. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.